Siddharth joining us with us. Siddharth, environment. Now, Jairam, who had, of course, been one of the more dynamic ministers in environment that we've seen for a long time. Some people would say he was too dynamic. He ruffled too many feathers. He prevented industrialization from happening, held up development. He would argue that that's the job which he did. Is this being viewed as a punishment for what Jairam did, or has he now moved, in a sense, been elevated and gone to another ministry which is really crucial, especially right now with all this buzz with land acquisition very much in the headlines?
Well, it's interesting, but I don't think while anyone's seeing this as a punishment, the fact is that when Jairam came in, and he came in with a background of both technology as well as economics, having studied at the IIT and the MIT, he really took to his job, and it was very difficult to actually catch the minister off guard. He used to read a lot. He was really up to the point, very well briefed about the issues that was concerning the environment. He took things head on. And very often that meant that he was pitted against his other cabinet colleagues as well. But that didn't deter him from doing his job, at least trying to, bat for the environment. And very often he actually said, and in one interview he actually said that my job is there just to bat for the environment. I'm the minister for the environment and forests. Other ministers, of course, have to bat for their ministries. So that's where my priorities lie. And obviously balancing that with growth and all. Absolutely, he was a dynamic minister, very often in the news. Lots of controversy around him as well. But the fact is that Jairam definitely brought with him a lot of dynamism. He brought a lot of energy into the ministry and put the spotlight on the ministry. And this is a question, in fact, I've asked many people that can you even tell me who the former environment ministers were? And most people actually cannot come up with names in that particular ministry. So he's definitely put the spotlight there. And the government, obviously, seeing that he could bring a lot of energy now to the Rural Development Ministry, a big ministry with a lot of finances, a huge mandate with NREGA that the government, of course, considers as one of his big flagship schemes. So obviously the government wants to now use him there with his energies to try and at least further those goals as well.
Yeah, it is a crucial ministry which he's moved to, and there's no doubting that. I mean, there are some of these ministries which are really important. They don't get the headlines necessarily, but they are crucial. But on the note of environment, let me just get Dr. Sunita Narayan in on this, Director, Center for Science and Environment. Sunita, thanks a lot for being with us. What is your take on Jairam moving from environment to rural development? It's not as if the new minister is not somebody who's also very competent and capable. Jayanti Natarajan may also, she's not a lightweight by any stretch of imagination. How do you see this entire change?
I very much agree with what Siddharth just said. I think rural development, to my mind, is one of the most important ministries of this government, of this country. I mean, we have NREGA, if you look at it, Vikram, is this country's biggest response to climate change. It's a program which invests money into rebuilding of local assets, into building water channels, into looking at how livelihoods of people can be improved. And I think since Raghuvansh Prasad, we've seen that that ministry has really just not been able to make a mark. And I believe bringing Jairam there, he's a very effective minister. I have seen how hard he works. He's an extremely intelligent, effective and dynamic minister, as Siddharth said. I think we needed in rural development to have a person like him who can really bring that agenda to life. It is an agenda, as you said, which is neglected by most of us because we see it as something that doesn't bother us, but it's an agenda that will make or break India. And I'm very glad that Jairam is there. Now, if the Prime Minister had changed Jairam and brought in a corporate-friendly minister, I would personally have been worried. We do remember the names of former ministers, and one that comes to mind is a person who's currently in Tihar jail. And I would have been very worried if that kind of minister would have come back to environment. But I think bringing Jayanti Natarajan back is very clearly a message that environment is an important issue. It will be given the importance that it requires.
So you're not saying, Sunita, that there's not a signal in this that Jairam has been punished for being obstructionist in some way or for talking too much about the environment. That's not the way you see this. That signal is not going across. He's not been punished for working for the environment. He's been rewarded. That's your take.
He has been rewarded. He has been promoted. I mean, just think about it. In any political circles, the Rural Development Ministry I mean, how does power get measured? It gets measured by the importance of the work, it gets measured by the amount of money you have, and it gets measured by the status that you have in government. Jairam has been elevated to a full cabinet minister. He now has a ministry which has much more money than all the ministries put together. He has an agenda which is the top agenda of this country. I see this as a promotion. And the fact of the matter is, as I keep saying, if I don't know Mrs. Natarajan, but she certainly comes with a reputation which is as clean, which has high integrity, and I think she will make, and for that reason, I don't see this as being that, you know, we need a corporate-friendly minister, now let every project get cleared and let's get a certain rate fixed so that we can get the Raja days back in the Ministry of Environment.
All right, let me just get Sandeep Pookan on this. Sandeep, you heard what was being said about Jairam. It's a promotion, it's in a sense a reward for what he did in environment. How is the shift of Salman to law being seen and swapping places in a sense with Mr. Moily? How's that being perceived and what's the message behind it?
I think, you know, these are the two real big picture themes, Vikram. Jairam moving to rural development and Salman moving to law. In fact, if you recall, Vikram, the last time when there was a reshuffle, when people like Praful Patel got an upgrade, there was much talk about, because Salman also got an upgrade as cabinet minister then, but there was much talk about that how he would become the law minister, and all of us were actually completely taken aback and surprised to see him get water resources. Well, this time I think, you know, that mistake, for the want of a better word, I'm using that word, that mistake has been corrected. Well, actually, if you look at the current scenario, the way the government handles its legal issues is very, very important. Whether it's the 2G case, whether it's the black money case, whether it's the Radia tapes, whether it's the recent controversy over Solicitor General's resignation. In all of this, I think there was a feeling that the Law Ministry was wanting. It could have handled things better. So, I mean, for sure that this is a very, very significant and an important change within the government, you know, to provide a certain amount of dynamism. As Siddharth was speaking about, you know, how Jairam had, you know, lent his stature and lent his persona to add a certain amount of dynamism to the Ministry of Environment. In fact, he was asking that question. Let me answer. I think the former Environment Minister was A. Raja, if I'm not mistaken. So
I just referred to that.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying that. It was almost oblivious, and Jairam coming there completely changed the profile. I think that's exactly what the government hopes to repeat with the Law Ministry, that they would want better handling of situation and not necessarily moving from one crisis to another. That's not to say that, you know, Mr. Moily didn't do a good job. I mean, he did a fairly good job, and you know, he still has the confidence of the party leadership, and that's why he has moved to another crucial ministry, Vikram, by the way, corporate affairs, because they are, you know, in the midst of preparing a new law. They also have to handle several crucial and very key issues, like the 2G case, for example.
All right, Sunita, you want to comment on that? Obviously, the law, we know that one of the big problems in the country right now is the way our legal system is working. There's so many outdated laws, and it's not just the land acquisition law, which everyone is going on about right now, which dates back to 1894. The entire legal system is clogged. Is this something, bringing Salman in there with the expertise and experience you have, could that entire judicial system get unclogged?
You know, Vikram, to make a more general point, I think what the problem in the country today is, and that's what we are feeling, I'm seeing also with the ministers, and I'm not even sure how Mr. Khursheed will overcome this, is there's so much firefighting happening. We're just going from one crisis to the other, that ministers are not spending any time in doing what is really their business, which is in changing or reforming the regulatory system and the administrative system. And I keep hearing about this, but not a single minister worth its salt, over the last 3 years in particular, I have seen investing even any time in changing what really will be the institutions for the future. And I am not even clear how that is going to change with the changes of faces today. Because I think it really goes a lot deeper in the fact that ministers don't see a value in putting in time into into really hard work, which is not very, very good on the media.
NDTV's Cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.